Hi everyone. So I wanted to do a video about my own experiences with plantar fasciitis. I hope I said that right. But it's a foot condition that I've had since I was 19 years old, I believe. And it's a condition that has really affected my life. And so I kind of wanted to share my story and in hopes that maybe other people who have the same kind of problems might relate to it and, you know, feel better that they're not all alone, and also that maybe others who have the condition will, comment or whatever and let me know I'm not alone. So anyway, like I said, I think I developed plantar fasciitis when I was 19, and it's kind of odd with me because it wasn't something that kind of gradually happened and got worse, which I have heard that's a lot of times how it works. But with me, it's like one day I was perfectly fine, and then the next day I could barely walk on one of my feet. And so at first I thought I had, twisted and my ankle or messed up my foot in some way. I mean, I knew the pain was mostly like in the arch heel area, but I wasn't sure what I had done. And I thought that, just time and rest and stuff would heal it. And so I actually, unfortunately, ended up losing the job I had at the time because of my foot issue. I wasn't able to work for a few days. And I was only working at Burger King, so it wasn't like a big loss or anything. But then I had to go find another job, so I got a job working at Big Lots, and I was convinced that, if I could just make it through a week or two, that, my foot would start feeling better and I would get through it. So I started working at Big Lots, and this was before the store actually opened. It was a brand new store. So for the first couple months, we worked full time, and it was really hard work. I mean, like a lot of lifting and moving stuff. And that was extremely hard to do with me having my foot in such pain. I mean, I limped like at least the first few months, and it was constant. Like I couldn't walk normally. And I remember one of the first few days that I worked at Big Lots, I remember going to the bathroom and just laying down on the floor in the bathroom because I thought I was going to pass out from the pain. It was that bad. It was awful. And so as the months went by, and it did get a little better, like to the point that, I mean, it was still constant pain and everything, but I got to the point where, like, at least I wasn't almost passing out from the pain. And even though I still limped constantly, at least it wasn't as bad as the limp was when I first heard it. And then eventually, when I realized it wasn't getting better, I did go to the doctor. And the reason I hadn't gone to the doctor before was because I had no health insurance and no way to pay for it. So I ended up going to this free clinic. And that was where I first heard the term plantar fasciitis, because that's what the doctor thought I had. And it was funny because she said that it was really unusual for someone my age, and with my size to have that issue. She said normally it happened to overweight or obese people or athletes. And so she was kind of surprised I had it. And she actually said that it was a rare condition for her to come across. And I remember she brought in a couple residents to kind of teach them about the condition or whatever, which since then I've heard the term plantar fasciitis a lot of different places. So I think maybe it's become less of a rare thing because people are seeking treatment for it more or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, so she gave me some exercises to do, gave me some anti-inflammatories, and, just told me to ice it like after work and stuff like that. So I followed all of her directions, but it really wasn't getting better. So I kind of learned just to deal with it, unfortunately. And I also, she told me to get, better shoes, because I'd always worn cheap shoes because, I mean, we never had a ton of money growing up or anything. So I was used to wearing, like just Walmart brand shoes or whatever. But I looked for shoes, and the only shoes I could find that actually made the pain even a little bit better were Nikes. And that's true even to this day. I still only buy Nikes when I buy gym shoes. And so I've heard other people say that New Balance was what worked for them, but Nikes happened to work for me. But even knowing that Nikes work for me, I still have to be very careful of what kind of Nikes I get, because a lot of them don't have the kind of foot support and the arch support that I need. So I have to be really careful, and they're usually really expensive. But that's kind of how it happens. And it did affect my life in other ways, this foot condition, because I started having more back issues, and I think it was because I was limping all the time, and my alignment was just out of whack. And then I also, I couldn't wear dress shoes. I remember for my own wedding, I couldn't wear dress shoes because my feet were in such bad shape and in such bad pain. And I want to say at the beginning, it was only one foot, but within 6 months after that foot was messed up, then the other foot started developing the condition too. And I think it's because I was limping so much and putting so much weight on the other foot that, eventually it started having issues. And I've always wondered if, when I first developed the condition, because like I said, it was literally overnight, and I don't know why it just suddenly popped up. So I've always wondered if there was some kind of other underlying injury that kind of created the plantar fasciitis, or if, it just suddenly showed up for some reason. But anyway, so after I, started doing the things the doctor said, and I got better shoes and stuff, I was still in constant pain, but I was able to function at least. And it affected my life in other ways besides just that I couldn't wear shoes other than gym shoes, but it affected my life in that, like, when I was off of work, I couldn't hardly go anywhere or do anything because my feet were so messed up from being on them at work that, it hurt to do anything. So that got kind of depressing because I loved to go out and do things, and suddenly I couldn't. I used to love to skate. I used to love to dance. I used to do like all kinds of that stuff, and it became where I couldn't. And that was really depressing. And then during the time that I was 19 years old, I got into a romantic relationship, and we ended up getting married when I was 20. And so I quit my job at Big Lots, and I didn't work for a while after that. I was hoping that maybe if I gave my feet some time, that maybe the condition would get better, which I guess was kind of naive thinking. But eventually I did get another job, and the first job I got was working on my feet all the time again, and I just hoped maybe it would be better this time. And unfortunately it wasn't. I only lasted 2 months of that job, and then I had to quit because it got to the point where I couldn't walk again. And it was really bad because I actually went to a foot doctor's when I was working that job, because I figured, if I can't work, I can't make money, so I might as well spend the money, even though I don't have health insurance, to go to an actual specialist. So I did, and he took x-rays and, did all his kind of testing and stuff, and he also came to the conclusion that it was plantar fasciitis in both feet. And so he gave me cortisone shots in my feet. And unfortunately, they didn't even help. Like, the first day or two after the cortisone shots, it was a little numb, but like as soon as that wore off, it was right back to as bad as it was before. Even with the cortisone shots and me taking anti-inflammatories and doing the exercises and everything, it wasn't working. And so I ended up losing the job that I had at the time. And so I started looking for like office jobs or jobs where I could sit down. I did eventually find those, and then for the next like 6-7 years, I did a sit down office job. And the thing is, I hate office jobs. I really hate office jobs. But I felt like at the time I didn't have much of a choice, and so I did what I had to do, and I got through it. And then I started kind of working for myself as an author and an artist, and so that kind of brings us to today. And I'm looking for a part-time job again, and I'm trying to find something that is partly on my feet and partly not on my feet, which is really kind of hard to do in the job market. And I really don't want to do an office job again. I really, I'd rather just bang my head against the wall than work in a cubicle again, but we'll see what happens. But, one thing I detest more than anything else is answering phones, and almost every job out there that, you sit has you answering phones. And I have had a couple of jobs where I didn't do much but like data entry, but even those jobs eventually kind of morphed into things where I had to answer phone calls and be on the phone, and so I started really not liking those jobs as much. And so that's kind of where I'm at now, is trying to figure out how to work with the foot condition I have. And there is the foot doctor, the specialist, he did tell me, there is a surgery I could consider, but the surgery was pretty risky. And at the time, he told me that like there's like a 40% chance or something with the way my foot is that I may be permanently crippled instead of it fixing me. And 40%, that's like a high risk, and I don't want to be permanently crippled. I don't want it to be worse than it is, especially since now, after years of not having to work on my feet, I've gotten to the point where I can do things, like at least short term. Like I can walk for a half an hour to maybe an hour at most before the plantar fasciitis starts really kicking in. And so it's hard because I want to find a job that I can do and that I actually like, because the only jobs I've had that I really, really liked were on my feet, but then the foot problems kind of, made that impossible. And the only sit-down job I ever had that I really liked was when it was just data entry, and it was part-time, so like, which is good because I also have back issues from a few car accidents, and sitting too long can really mess with that. So, and also at that job, I got to listen to music or books on tape all day, so I kind of just drowned out everything and just lived in my own little world, and so I really liked that. But unfortunately, those kind of jobs aren't that easy to find. So that's kind of where I'm at now, is trying to figure out how to work with this whole plantar fasciitis thing, and how to not be in agonizing pain, so that, I don't want to be alive, because sometimes, like, when you're in chronic pain so bad that it is constant and never gets better, you almost get to a point where you just don't want to be here anymore. And I understand why people with chronic pain, like, there's a high suicide rate among people with chronic pain. So, I'm trying to motivate myself to do things and, have a full life, but I also don't want to be in agonizing pain all the time. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I wanted to share all this just because it has really impacted my life, and I wanted to see if others had had similar experiences and had struggles like I have with jobs, and finding jobs that will work with your plantar fasciitis. And like, have you also had treatments and they didn't work? Because like I said, nothing has really worked for me, unfortunately, even though I've really tried. So I guess that's all I wanted to say, and I appreciate all of you guys listening to this. And if you can relate, I hope you'll comment, because I'd love to know that I'm not the only one going through all this. So I'll see you later. Bye.